To mark the one-year anniversary of the nationwide Women's March to protest President Trump, organizers held rallies across the country. One of those marches was held here in Washington, D.C. This is 3.5 hours.
We will not bow down to racism. Oh, we will not bow down to injustice. We will not bow down exploitation. I'm gonna stand. I'm gonna stand. We will not obey, no, 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 racism. Oh, we will not obey, no injustice. We will not obey exploitation. I'm gonna stand. I'm gonna stand. I just can't tolerate, oh no, no, racism. I just can't tolerate, no injustice. I just can't tolerate exploitation. I'm gonna stand. I'm gonna stand. I'm gonna stand. What you gonna do? I'm gonna stand. I'm gonna stand.
How we doing today, DC? Let me hear you. How we doing today? Y'all look great today. We're Songrise, and we are so excited to be here with you all. We use our music to inspire action through song and to remind us where we've been and where we are going together. We hope that these next songs inspire you today to keep marching, to keep singing, to keep voting, to keep running for office, and to keep your mind stayed on freedom.
Woke up this morning with my mind. It was stayed on freedom. Woke up this morning with my mind. It was stayed on freedom. You know I woke up this morning with my mind. That it was stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Walking and talking with my mind. Stayed on freedom. You see, I'm walking and talking with my mind. I keep stayed on freedom. You see, I'm walking and talking with my mind. Stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Come on and walk, walk, darling, walk, sugar, walk with your mind on freedom. Walk, darling, sugar, walk with your mind on freedom. Oh, come on and walk, come on and talk, darling, sugar, with your mind on freedom. Talk, darling, sugar, with your mind on freedom. Oh, hallelujah. Now there ain't no harm in keeping your mind. Keeping it stayed on freedom. There ain't no harm in keeping your mind. Keeping it stayed on freedom. You know there ain't no harm in keeping your mind. Keeping it stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. nobody. Turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking. Keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let gerrymandering turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let gerrymandering turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let no Congress turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let no Congress turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. No president! Ain't gonna let no president turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let no president turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. All right.
Thank you. Hello, my sister resistors, my nevertheless we will persisters. My name is Emily Patton, and I'm one of the co-organizers for today's event. I am beyond thrilled to see all of you here. I'd like to give a shout out to my Arlington Democrats. Where are you? Last year, we saw the single largest protest in U.S. history. And that was just the start. Women have been at the heart of the resistance at every single turn. We have raised our voices, told our stories, and we have marched. We have come out for healthcare, the environment, science-based information, and we have come out for racial justice. And we are yes. And today, we are standing with dreamers right now while their lives are on the line. This year is going to be Resistance 2.0. Women and our allies are watching what is happening in DC, and we will not let up. We will make our message heard at the polls this fall, which is why we are urging people to get registered to vote today. Today is about showing we are not tired and that the resistance works. We are absolutely thrilled to see so many women running for office in 2018, and we will keep having marches until our government looks like us
and actually represents our rights. We're not tired, we're just getting started. And to get this rally started, it is my pleasure to introduce the newly crowned Miss District of Columbia, Bryce Armstrong.
Hello. Good morning. So my name is Bryce Armstrong. I am the newly crowned Miss District of Columbia, USA, and I'm so honored to be here. Yeah. So we are so excited to have you here. We want everyone to have a fun and be safe. We ask everyone to please stay off the ice. I hope they can hear me back there. And to please stay on the sidewalk. And thank everyone for being here. We now have Representative Beyer.
Thank you, Bryce, very much. Happy anniversary, Mr. President. 1 year, and we have the Trump shutdown. My grandmother, Clara Mortensen Beyer, was a suffragette. She marched in Berkeley, in Philadelphia, in New York, but she was 28 years old before she first had the chance to vote. She was number 2 in the Bureau of Labor Standards, but she was never number 1 because she was a woman. She was our U.S. representative in Geneva to the ILO, but they refused to seat her because she was a woman. Among the greatest tragedies of history is man's suppression of the genius and the power and the creativity of women. I have 3 daughters and 1 wife, and they are each is the smartest, funniest, most kick-ass person I know. I have 3 living sisters who change the lives of every person they meet. And I am extremely fortunate to serve in the U.S. House of Representatives with 89 amazing women. And I am pretty sure if Mitch McConnell were a woman, if Paul Ryan were a woman, if our president were a woman, we would not be in the middle of the Trump shutdown right now. Look, in politics, we say, if you don't run, you can't win. Well, to all the women of America, I say, if you can't run, if you don't run, you can't lead. You can't be in charge. You can't change the world in all the most important ways. So please, run. Run scared, run smart, run hard, and run for every woman throughout history who is denied the opportunity to use all of her potential to make this world a better place. Thank you. Keep marching.
So now we have Virginia State Delegate Kelly Fowler.
Last year I marched, then I ran, then I won, I'm proud to now introduce myself. I am Kelly Fowler. I am the representative from the 21st District in Virginia. Where are all my Virginia friends who helped me? We did this together. Before last year, I never imagined I would run for office. But I brought my daughter to the Women's March last year to lift her. It is her birthday on Inauguration Day. Today, she is 9. Happy birthday. So she was born on Obama's Inauguration Day, a great day. And it was really hard to tell her that she would not get the first woman president on her 8th birthday. So we brought her to the march. I brought her to the march, and we marched. I didn't realize at the time that it was not just for her that I came, it was also for me, and to lift my spirits and to get me to my place that I needed to be, to take my seat at the table. It's not just about winning a few seats. It's about changing a tone in our country, in our world, and in our lives. Yes, we are changing the world every day, every one of us. When we march, when we run for office, when we volunteer, when we vote, when we speak out. So let's continue doing that. Let's do this. Keep doing it. Thank you. Okay, you have to go that way, back that way. Go that way.
Happy birthday. So now we have Marilyn Karp. She is a founding member of Indivisible of Nova West, and she's also known as Nasty Grandma.
Hi, everybody. My name is Marilyn Karp, and I'm a street fighter from the Bronx. But you mommies and grandmas and daddies and cousins and aunts and uncles and children and friends and neighbors, you are the resistance. Give yourself a big hand. Tell me what democracy looks like. Tell me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. So we, the resistance, brought common sense to politics. We didn't follow the rules. We made them up as we went. This is our power. We think outside the box. We try things. If they work, we do more. We here in Virginia showed everyone that the resistance can, in fact, vote them out of office. We turned our cars into campaign offices so we could canvass for multiple candidates at the same time. We canvassed in red districts. Did it work? Damn sure it did. We elected 8 candidates in Prince William County. We helped Danica defeat Voldemort. We elected 2 Latina candidates in Corey Stewart's backyard, Elizabeth Guzman and Hala Ayala. We showed the campaigns there's so much more beside canvassing and phone calls. We didn't let the campaigns push us around. We made ourselves more efficient. We gave the voters much more information than the campaigns. We campaigned for everyone at the same time, not just the top of the ticket. We made this up as we went. We did what made sense to us. We got the commuters to vote absentee. At the end, the campaign started to call and ask us about going to commuter lots and bus lots. We led the way. But 2018 is much bigger. We have to get more people out to vote. We have to register more people. We have to canvass in the red precincts. It works. We helped double the number of people who voted in one red precinct. Common sense that it says that it's silly to go to the same house 5 times. You should ask them to send you into a red district to canvass. The votes you find in a red district won't turn it blue, but every vote counts, and we know only too well what that means. We can't allow any of the elections to be close. When they are, their cheating works. So be smart, use common sense, push the campaigns. You live in these neighborhoods. The young organizers don't, and some of them have little experience. Guide them, help them do the right thing. Don't just accept what they say. But perhaps the most important thing is that we found each other in our communities, in our states, and across the states. Resistors, I love you. Fired up.
All right, so now we have Judy Gerhardt from the International Labor Rights Forum.
Hello, are you ready to continue this resistance? We need to continue every day for many years to come. There are 3 big reasons we need to stand up for the women who want to claim their voice at the ballot box. We need to stand up for women who want to fight sexual harassment on the street or in their homes. And the third reason that I stand here today is because we need to stop sexual violence in the workplace. We need to stop all forms of sexual harassment, all forms of abuse, and all forms of the use of power to make women do what they don't want to do. I stand here for all the women we work with, from the garment factories in Los Angeles to the garment factories in Bangladesh to the fields of tobacco-growing women in Malawi, in North Carolina, around the world. There are women who are working, who are toiling, who do not have a voice, do not have the ability to stand up, organize, and defend their rights at work. This resistance, if we want equality, it's got to trickle all the way down to every worker and every woman. Thank you, and keep up the fight.
We are so excited to have Senator of Connecticut, Blumenthal.
I bring you greetings from the great state of Connecticut. And I am so proud to be a United States Senator from Connecticut here today on this beautiful day with, again, I was here last year, some of the best fighters and activists and advocates in the whole country. You're here today to send a message. This is what democracy looks like. This is what citizen activism looks like, and engagement. And we are going into this next election to turn around an administration that has nothing but contempt for women's rights and workers' rights and equal rights for all Americans. We're going to put a stop to it. Now, we know that it's more than going to a march, important as it is. It's about engagement at every level, the grassroots level. It's about voter registration. And women are marching and showing us the way, forging new paths. They are not only marching, they are running. They're running for office. And we need more of them. We need more of them in the United States Senate and in every state capital across the country. Thank you for being the conscience of America. You know, for many, many years, I was in law enforcement. I was the federal prosecutor, and then I was the Attorney General of our state in Connecticut. And I know how important, how fundamental the rule of law is in this country. You are here upholding basic rights. We need to keep fighting. We need to keep working. We need to keep marching so that we can uphold what makes America truly great. Our rights, our liberties, our freedom, we will never give up. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for showing us what democracy looks like. I look forward to marching and running and fighting with you. Thank you so much. God bless our great country. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. So now we have Elise Bryant. She is the president of CLUE. Woo!
Thank you, Queen. Good morning, family. I bring you greetings and salutations on behalf of the members of the Coalition of Labor Union Women, CLUE. I am a union woman, just as strong as I can be. I do not like the bosses, and the bosses don't like me. Which side are you on? Never mind, that's a rhetorical question. I know which side you're on. You're on the side of equal means equal. You're on the side of don't boo, vote. You're on the side of the dreamers. You are the resistors that say, hashtag me too, hashtag time's up, and inspired by the immigrant women janitors who marched and shouted, ya basta, enough is enough. And we're changing it to hashtag enough, period. Snap. Sisters not afraid of power. We're going to stop sexual harassment and sexual assault in our workplace, in our schools, on our college campuses, in our homes, and in our unions. In 1974, 1,200 women met in Chicago to envision and demand equal opportunity for women in unions and to organize the unorganized. I stand on the shoulders of Olga Madar, of Joyce Miller, of Gloria Johnson, of Reverend Addie Wyatt, and all the founding mothers of CLUE who taught me that a woman's place is in her union. Let me add to that. A woman's place is in the House of Representatives. A woman's place is in the Senate. A woman's place is in the White House, and we are coming for it. Are you with me? And those who think that the time of unions is over, let me ask you this. What is the first line of the U.S. Constitution? We the people, in order to form A more perfect what? A more perfect what? Union. They didn't say organization. They didn't say club. They said union. And look at this union of people here today. Yes. Tell me what democracy looks like. I'm going to close with the words of Sojourner Truth. Yes, who in 1851 addressed the Women's Rights Convention in Akron, Ohio. And she said, if the first woman that God made was able to turn this here world upside down all by herself, then these women here today with our brothers will be able to turn it right side up again, and nowadays asking. So we shall march, we shall sing, we shall resist, and we shall overcome, because I know that deep in my heart I do believe, all together, we shall overcome someday. Power to the women, power to the people.
So now we have Susan Platt, president of Platt Consulting.
Good morning. What a beautiful day outside to be in Washington and marching, isn't it? Let me start by saying they'll tell you you're not qualified. Then they'll tell you it's not your turn. Then they'll tell you you don't understand the issues. And then they'll tell you you can't win. They tell you to smile more. They tell you to do something with your hair. They tell you they don't like how you dress. And then they tell you you can't win. And now it seems that because the current resident of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue constantly demeans women, his supporters think it's okay. They post a photo of you with a noose over your head. They send out your home address and tell others to destroy your property. They call you derogatory and hurtful names that are meant to belittle and scare you. But then they say, it's okay, because you can't win anyway. So when they tell you they don't like the way you campaign as a woman, you ask them what or who you are supposed to campaign like. I will campaign like a woman because I am a woman. And today, most particularly, women govern differently. Women have a different way of listening and compromising. They don't just get up from the table and tweet lies and insults. Or like Congressman Dave Bratt from Virginia 7th, say they won't meet with women because he said they were getting up in his grill. But let me tell every woman here a secret. You've already won. Why? Because you found your motivation and you empowered yourself and others to add another crack in that glass ceiling. Women cracked that ceiling in Virginia last November. They said Danica Rome could not be elected to the House of Delegates because she's transgender. But she won. They said Hala Ayala and Elizabeth Guzman, two Latinas, could not be elected to the House of Delegates. But they won. They said Jennifer Carroll Foy couldn't win because she was pregnant with twins who were born during the campaign, but guess what? She won. So did 7 other strong women who didn't listen to all those who said they couldn't win. In fact, 11 of the 15 new members of the Virginia House of Delegates are women. When former Virginia Attorney General Mary Sue Terry, the only woman in Virginia's history to win statewide office, and I started the first 2 statewide organizations dedicated to recruiting, mentoring, and contributing to women candidates, women held 11% of the seats in the House of Delegates. Today, women comprise 28% of the House of Delegates. Women voters did that. You did that. So I ask you, are we there yet? Are we done yet? The women's marches that took place around the world last year ignited something so organic, spontaneous, and powerful that our momentum cannot and will not be stopped. 2017 was not the first Women's March on Washington. That happened in 1917, more than 100 years ago, when 10 women suffragists were arrested and imprisoned for parading in front of the White House with signs that read, "Mr. President, what will you do for women's suffrage? And how long must women wait for liberty?" Last year, over 1 million women and men and children who support them donned their pink hats and marched on Washington again for causes just as important as a woman's right to vote. It just proves what Margaret Thatcher said: you may have to fight a battle more than once to win it. Last year, we took our despair and disappointment and used it to harness our collective power. We worked our hearts out and proved that we can win, and we did win in Virginia. And last year, I did something I never thought I would ever do in my 62 years. Many of them as an activist. I ran for office. Wow, what an experience. I met people all over the Commonwealth of Virginia and was so energized by how many told me they had not done enough and they were getting more involved, and many for the first time. So while this year my name won't be on the ballot, but that doesn't mean my job or yours is finished. We found out this year how important just one vote is. Shelley Simons was in a tied race for a seat in the House of Delegates. The winner was determined by picking one name out of a fishbowl. The Republican's name was chosen. No race should ever have to be decided like that. Now, I have worked for decades to increase women's participation in politics, and I believe in that cause with every ounce of my being. But let's not forget to support the men who have always supported and empowered women, like my friend, Senator Tim Kaine. Senator Kaine, who stood proudly with Hillary Clinton, who believes that women are capable of making their own decisions about their health and reproductive choices. who believes that every woman should have access to affordable contraception, who co-sponsored the Paycheck Fairness Act because he knows that men and women must be paid equally for the same work. And he pushed his colleagues to reauthorize the Violence Against Women Act, and who has also fought to make sure that women who serve their country in the U.S. Armed Forces are treated the same as their male counterparts. The Republican likely to challenge Senator Kaine in November does not support any of those things. So now I ask you, it's time we go fight that battle one more time. So with that, would you welcome to the podium the guy we're going to fight that battle for too, my good friend and that of all of ours, Senator Tim Kaine from the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Hey, Women's March 2018, you look great. Today, I want to talk about 3 anniversaries. The first anniversary of the Trump administration is a chaotic government shutdown, the Trump shutdown. The first anniversary of the Women's March is this fantastic gathering that's happening all over the country to show what democracy really looks like. And the third anniversary, well, I will get to that in just a couple of minutes. We are in the middle of a Trump shutdown last night. The Trump shutdown is due to the inability of the Republican Party to do basic governing like making a budget, something that everybody does at their own house. Just like the Republican effort to repeal health care, to take millions of people's health care away, or do tax cuts that benefit the few, not the many, or cut Medicaid and take Medicaid away from millions of people, this Trump shutdown is about hurting people and hurting our country. That's what they are doing. 4 months into a fiscal year, with all the levers, White House, House, Senate, they can't even get a budget done. Democrats told Republicans last night, instead of forcing a shutdown, here's a novel idea. Why don't we just stay at the table and negotiate a budget deal that's good for education, good for health care, protects our dreamers, gives hurricane relief, and is good for defense? Why don't we do that instead? But when my Democratic colleagues made motions, let's not shut the government down, let's stay open to get that good deal, the Republicans shut the motions down, shut the government, because guess what? That's what President Trump had asked. He's been talking and tweeting about a good shutdown, and so that's why we're here in the Trump shutdown. But I make this pledge to you along with my Democratic colleagues. While they want to walk away, we will stay at the table to find a fix. President Trump may have to cancel a trip to Mar-a-Lago. He may have to reschedule his jetting off to Davos, Switzerland. But we'll find a solution with your help. For our dreamers, for our troops, for our teachers, for health care, we'll find a solution. But I'm here for the happier anniversary. I'm here for this anniversary. 1 year ago, millions of women and the men and children who have their backs marched around the world to send this message. Women deserve to be heard. Women deserve to be respected. Women deserve to lead. It was It was a tremendous honor for me to be the running mate for the first woman nominated for president by a major political party, Hillary Rodham Clinton. Hillary Clinton would have been a marvelous president, so much better than the alternative president we have now. But let me be serious. We know how tragic this is. It was not to be. The facts are plain. In a nation that does so many things so well, we have a terrible track record when it comes to electing women to national office. We know that we have never had a woman president, but we also know that the U.S. ranks poorly in the world when it comes to women serving in elected positions. In 1997, 20 years ago, the U.S. was 52nd in the world in the percentage of women serving in national legislative bodies, and in 20 years we've fallen. We are now 104th in the world, behind the global average. Nations like Bolivia, Rwanda, Iraq, Afghanistan have a higher percentage of women serving in elected office than the United States. We have to do better. The march last year, and marches all around this nation, you've inspired a great awakening. Women were dismayed when a qualified woman won the popular vote for president, but lost an election to an unprepared and immature man who bragged about assaulting women. And women are dismayed at an administration set on reversing gains for women's health access, educational equity, sexual assault enforcement, basic acceptance of science, and so many other areas. But women are stepping up to lead and leading this nation to a great awakening and great revival. We see it. We see it in a powerful cultural change inspired by the Me Too movement. Women, and increasingly all people, are joining together, refusing to tolerate an unacceptable culture of sexual harassment and assault. We are not there yet, but we're getting closer to the day when women no longer have to suffer abuse in silence for fear of being ignored, belittled, intimidated, or fired. Powerful figures have been toppled off their bogus pedestals and revealed for who they are because women are speaking up. And we are seeing a powerful movement of new women political leaders, voters, volunteers, organizers, candidates. Some work in huddles or indivisible groups, some on their own, some through churches or nonprofits, some through political parties. The energy and strength of this new generation of engaged women leaders is obvious. And can I tell you, 1 year in, it is working. It's working. In Virginia, the energetic activism of women helped us deliver an historic sweep of our statewide offices in November, and our new governor installed a majority women cabinet for the first time in the history of the Commonwealth because he recognized who put him in office. And even more impressive, 15 Democratic newcomers, and you've heard from some today, defeated Republican incumbents in our state legislative races. 11 of the 15 were women, first-time candidates, women of color, immigrant women, LGBTQ women. I was so proud that they won and so proud to campaign with them. You know that a month later in Alabama, we elected my friend Doug Jones in one of the reddest states in America. In his victory over a Republican candidate dogged by horrific stories of child molestation, the energetic participation of women, especially of women of color, sealed the deal, carried the victory, and was seen by all. And these are trends we are now seeing all over this country. Women stepping up to vote, women stepping up to run, women stepping up to win, and women stepping up to lead. Let me just conclude and say this. As I stand here and look at you, and as I think about the last year, the pains and the challenges, but the activism too, I think 2018 can be a breakthrough year for American democracy. When women achieve equal representation in our government, it will transform our policy and it will transform our politics. A huge win for women candidates in November will set the stage as we prepare for the third anniversary I want to talk about. The 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment in 2020, when we celebrate the centennial of women getting the right to vote. That's the third anniversary that I want to talk about. Imagine it. Nearly 100 years after women gained the right to vote, the progress in women representing us in government is still so very, very weak. But a change is coming. You are the change, and you have awakened this nation. We won't tire, we won't rest. Standing in this place, as hundreds of thousands have throughout our history, we claim the equality of women, all women, as our North Star, and we pledge our efforts to making our union more perfect by elevating women in every last corner of this country. Thank you, and God bless the work you are doing. It's great to be with you today.
Thank you so much, Senator. So before I introduce the next speaker, I just want to say to everyone on the ice, please get off the ice. The sun is shining and it will melt. So if you can hear me, please get off the ice. Now we have Representative Jerry Connolly of Virginia.
My fellow resistors, you know, last night at Mar-a-Lago, Donald Trump's fancy friends spent $300 each to swill wine and enjoy a buffet. The rest of us came here to the Lincoln Memorial to remember that fateful day 1 year ago. We stand at a place of history right here. This is where Mahalia Jackson came to sing when she was denied access to an all-white facility. This is where Martin Luther King gave his I Have a Dream speech. This is where Americans come for redress to right wrongs. Well, the wrong you and I want to right lives in the White House. We know that chaos is not a substitute for governance. We know that foul-mouthed pejoratives are not a substitute for a rational immigration policy. We know what justice is for women, for the LGBT community, for the dreamers. What an ironic but perhaps fitting way for Donald Trump to celebrate his first-year anniversary than by shutting down the federal government. Well, in November, we're going to shut you down, Donald Trump. America has a constitutional form of government. And in that form of government, we have checks and balances. Well, this November, you are going to be the check and the balance. Are you ready for it? From every hill and dale, from the West Coast through the Midwest, through the South, through the East, to the North, Americans are going to be heard about this government, and the biggest check and balance ever delivered will be delivered on Election Day, where Americans restore their sense of democracy, their sense of fair play, their insistence and right to justice, because this is our country and our government. And leading the way, as they led recently in Virginia, will be women who started it all on the Women's March a year ago tomorrow. The energy and power unleashed on that day, and I was proud to stand with you then, has not abated. It's only grown. And that's what gives me hope. I hope it gives you hope. Donald Trump and his ilk don't own this country. We're all Americans, and we're going to be heard in November. So keep up the faith. Keep up the energy. And if you got a little time today, come by one of our offices and get one of these green cards and show yourself in the House Gallery. My Republican friends would love to see you. God bless you.
All right, so now we have Kings Floyd. She is a co-chair of DC Metro Adapt. Let's give her a warm welcome.
Good morning, y'all. Thank you for being here today. My name is Kings Floyd, and I personally want to thank y'all for being here. I am so excited to see the motivation and enthusiasm come through from last year. Last year's march was a culmination of the advocacy and progress that women can make. Be proud of yourselves for that. Millions of us came out to support one another, not only in DC and in the US, but worldwide. The march showed the globe that women demand to have their voices heard, to have their presence recognized, and to demonstrate exactly what we are capable of. But the march was also a platform for other marginalized populations. Last year, the Women's March was the largest gathering of people with disabilities in US history. It was impactful to me personally, not only because so many people with disabilities came out in support, but we were recognized and respected as a community, as part of society, and as a body of people that can contribute to moving America forward. I'm part of a national grassroots organization called ADAPT. We are a group of disability rights advocates ready to engage in nonviolent direct action, including civil disobedience, to ensure the civil and human rights of people with disabilities to live in freedom. Through ADAPT's efforts this past year, we tried to ensure that the disability voice has been not only heard, but it's also relatable to the American people. We want the same things: healthcare, employment opportunities, a vote, a voice. We are still looking, however, for the same standard of living and of freedom promised. People with disabilities still have higher rates of imprisonment, both in a criminal setting and in institutions. Women with disabilities are at a higher risk of rape and sexual assault. We are more likely to be abused, and we are less likely to receive proper medical care. 1 in 5 Americans has a disability, yet we are not reflected proportionally in the media, in government, in jobs, in schools, in society. That's a problem. We, as women, are strong. We are powerful. We are creative. We are intelligent. We are engaged, and we are active in our community. Look at everyone who is here today. As much as I would like to say this applies to many of us with disabilities, we continue to feel additionally oppressed because of the boundaries and stereotypes placed upon us. Please consider how your feminism is accessible, how your activism includes everyone. Intersectionality is a huge part of who we are as the American people. Diverse identities flowing together to create opportunities, hopefully for all of us. I encourage others to look to how they support the disability community, how making your work and our world accessible benefits us all. ADAPT is strongly encouraging everyone to support bills that encourage the disability community, including the Disability Integration Act, a bill that helps federal civil rights laws for people with disabilities, for women with disabilities. Senator Kaine and others who are here, please help move this bill forward. I would like all of you to choose your influence to consciously and openly support the disability community. Don't forget that every single person here is in a position of power. We all came together last year, and we are all here this year. We have defined a moment in history. Use that power, your voice, and help us move forward. A community of all women of all different identities. Get out and vote. Thank you all very much.
So now we have Kamala Lopez. She is the president of Hiroka Films and executive director of Equal Means Equal.
Hi there, everybody. It's a beautiful day for equal rights. Women in the United States do not have equal rights in the Constitution, but we should. We must. Let me tell you how we could succeed at this in 2018. My name is Kamala Lopez. I'm the executive director of Equal Means Equal, an organization formed to focus on the ratification of the Equal Rights Amendment, or ERA. Since we were here at the march 1 year ago, there has been a seismic shift in the way women are dealing with the symptoms of pervasive gender bias, including the explosion of the Me Too and the Time's Up movements. But sexual harassment, sexual assault and rape, pay discrimination, pregnancy discrimination, domestic violence, gendered poverty, human sex trafficking, all of these ills are symptoms of a serious flaw in the underlying law upon which our systems and institutions are built. Until the explicit omission of women in our foundational legal document, the Constitution, is addressed and corrected, all of the energy of our new movements will dissipate without lasting and substantive change for American women and girls. A constitutional amendment is the only guarantee of our rights from one generation to the next. If we had the ERA, most of the fights for our rights that women and our allies face every single day would be completely unnecessary, as women would have the law on their side. The nonpartisan 24-word ERA simply says, equality of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. Doesn't seem like this should be hard to get done, does it? Let's do it. Let's get it done this year. The ERA would provide basic civil and human right protections to women and girls. We must face the difficult reality that the United States Constitution, when written, deliberately excluded women. Hundreds of years later, in 2018, our culture has changed so much that 96% of Americans believe that men and women are equal. And 80% of us believe this equality is already guaranteed by the U.S. Constitution. The problem is, it isn't, and it really matters. The Equal Rights Amendment remains 2 states short of ratification. Since 1982, ERA has been frozen at 35 ratified states. Then, in March of this past year, a miracle happened. And Nevada, thanks to Senator Pat Spearman, ratified the ERA. And now it's back on track. And we are 95% of the way there. At Equal Means Equal, we believe that once the 38 states are ratified, women will be fully equal under federal law. Lawyers and constitutional experts feel strongly that there is sufficient legal precedent to nullify the illegal deadline that Congress inserted into the preamble of the Equal Rights Amendment. But the bad news is that the 14 remaining unratified states are holding the ERA up in committee. They're not allowing hearings or a vote. They have been doing this for decades now. This is a few powerful men who chair important committees in their House of Delegates, in their state senates, and they are holding complete sway over basic human rights that affect more than half the population, that affect 161 million Americans. That is not right. We cannot accept this, and we cannot tolerate it anymore. For us not to focus with complete intensity on the ratification of the original ERA in the last 2 states is to waste our time and to possibly lose the one opportunity we have to push this over the finish line. This is an urgent call to action. Take out your phones right now and join equalmeansequal.org so we can mobilize equality warriors across the country in the unratified states. Call Speaker of the House Kirkland Cox and Delegate Mark Cole in the Virginia House of Delegates. Call them now. The fate of the ERA lies in their hands. They are the ones who won't pull it out of committee. Call them, write to them, call your local paper and tell them about them. And let them know that as Virginians, you want the ERA voted on immediately. We cannot allow a few prejudiced individuals to continue to obstruct justice, fair pay, and equal rights for women any longer. The legislative session in Virginia only lasts for 60 days. We only have 55 left. We have to act now. If we want to see ERA happen this year, we cannot afford to wait a single day longer. I am not joking. Take out your phone. Join equalmeansequal.org and let us keep you in the loop. There are strong ground games in Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, Illinois, Florida, and of course, Virginia. Get involved. Now is the time to change the system, and let's start with the foundation. Thank you.
So our next speaker, we have Grace Martinez Rosa, Advocacy Director of United We Dream.
How y'all doing this morning? You all look so beautiful. I wish you would be here to see all of the amazing people that are here. You know, my name is Grace Martinez Rosas. I am undocumented, unafraid, and here to stay. So, you know, we all know what happened last night. We all saw the news that we know that Trump shut down the government. And we know that he did that because, one, he's a racist. Two, he does not value the lives of children or immigrant young people like myself. And there has been many things that have unified us in the last couple of months. But one of the things that United We Dream has been carrying is the fight for the DREAM Act. So brothers and sisters, politicians had to stay here in Washington, D.C. tonight. And they had to stay because we need to make sure that we reopen the government and that we win the DREAM Act. And I want them to hear from you right now. What do we want? And you say DREAM Act. You ready? What do we want? What do we want it? What do we want? What do we want it? What do we want? What do we want it? You know, if you would have told my 10-year-old self that crossed the Rio Grande waters into the United States with my mom and my dad, if you would have told that 10-year-old that I would one day be standing here in the place where Martin Luther King delivered his I Have a Dream speech, that you all would be standing in the place of the generations of freedom fighters that delivered the civil rights movement to this country, I would not have believed me. But sisters and brothers, you and I, we are miracles. We have defied the odds of this administration. Who remembers where you were exactly when Donald Trump won? Raise your hand. You remember that pit in your stomach? You remember the anger that you felt? That fear that maybe you didn't know what was going to happen to our country? But who was also here the day after, right before his inauguration, when we took over these streets? Do you remember how powerful we were? Sisters and brothers, you and I have resisted for 1 year now, and that is a miracle. You know, I remember being here 1 year ago when we showed the world that more people resist than a hateful man that support him. Because every day of this past year, women have forced this country to see that what we stand for. Last night, Republicans shut down the government. They did it because of their allegiance to a madman. They did it because of their allegiance to a madman with a racist worldview that they have determined to force upon every one of us. The world has a man-made crisis, and that man's name is Donald Trump. Well, last night, we the people refused to play their games. And we said that we would not stand for one more time of our values, of our children, of dreamers, of immigrant youth being pushed back to the shadows. Sisters and brothers, we are in a moment of crisis. Republicans would want you to say or think that immigrant young people, that DACA can wait to March. And that's not true. I want you to speak with me the names of immigrant young people that are at this moment find themselves in detention camps in our country. Repeat the name after me. Rosa Maria. Rosa Maria is a 10-year-old girl whose family was stopped on the road by agents who followed them to the hospital, waited for the sick girl to have surgery, and then dragged her to a detention camp by agents from her hospital bed. This isn't our America. Repeat after me. Luis. Luis came to the U.S. at the age of 5, but right now he is sitting in an immigrant detention camp where he was beaten by agents and as he yelled for help. All of us need to be protected by the DREAM Act, and this is the time to win. Sisters and brothers, I'm here to tell you that although people might be plotting against us, I know that I'm not alone. I know that we're ready to fight. Are you ready to win? Are you ready to fight? Are you ready to love? All right, I know that there'll be hard times in front of us. But there's a sister, her name is June Jordan. She's a black immigrant poet. And she wrote these words just for us in moments like this. Her words are better saying than read out loud, so you'll have to bear with my voice this morning. And I ask you to join me and sing after me. Are you ready? Are you ready? We have come too far. We won't turn around. We'll flood the streets with justice. We are freedom bound. Raise the hands that are going to rebuild our democracy in this moment. Raise the hands that are ready to win. And sing right loud after me. You ready to sing again? We have come too far. We have come too far. We won't turn around. We won't turn around. We'll flood the streets with justice. We'll flood the streets with justice. We are freedom bound. We are freedom bound. Sisters and brothers, I see you. I love you. I'm ready to win the DREAM Act by the end of this week. You ready? Thank you so much.
So next we have Dr. Gillibrand of Women's Alliance for Democracy and Justice.
Thank you. Good morning, resistors. My name is Jean Garin. The day before the last presidential election, my life was pretty ordinary. My kids were growing up and launching. I exercised. I belonged to a book club. I worked here in DC. Nothing in particular extraordinary. I was thinking of the next chapter of my life. Here's what I never thought I would become: a community activist, a rabble-rouser, an expert on local political process, a passionate defender of women's and human rights. And then the election happened, and everything changed for me. I woke up to the fact that I could no longer hand off my responsibility to others and assume all would be fine. My pre-2016 election mind said I was too busy, too tired to be involved. I also thought, what could possibly go wrong? This is the America that I know. These convenient and naive assumptions were shattered, and I fell down the rabbit hole of despair. I was, as my kids might say, shook. I thought, what am I going to say to my children? How am I going to reassure them? But I also found something else inside of me that day: anger. And that anger would fuel action and lead me out of the rabbit hole. But how? Then a memory tumbled out of my great-grandmother, Edith Houghton Hooker. Edith Hooker was one of the original suffragists. On March 3rd, 1913, the day before President Wilson's inauguration, Edith marched down Pennsylvania Avenue alongside her friend Alice Paul and 8,000 others from all over the country, sending a message to the new president that women were going to persist until they had the right to vote. After the inauguration, she stood on soapboxes in downtown Baltimore, arguing with people about the importance of women having the right to vote. People threw food at her, they jeered at her, and nevertheless, she persisted. She believed that if women could vote, then laws could be passed to improve women's and children's health and well-being. Factory owners could no longer take advantage of them in the workplace. Women could have rights to property, custody of their children, and access to education. Most importantly to Edith Hooker, with the vote, women could win access to birth control and needed sex education. Does this sound relevant to today? Crazy, right? Scarily relevant. To my great-grandmother, the first step to liberating women was getting them the right to vote. So what did this tell me? To get off my ass and do something. Become politically engaged. Now, while I voted, I realized I knew I could be better educated about issues and candidates. I didn't even know which congressional district I lived in, much less who my local representatives were. I was at a loss of where to start. So what did I do? I emailed my book club. And I talked to them about getting together to identify effective ways to take action. Little did I know, that was the day the Women's Alliance for Democracy and Justice was born. On November 15th, 2016, 38 women showed up at my house. Now, mind you, my book club only had 8 women. I knew then that there was a thirst and a need for action. I could see on the faces of these women that they were shook too. No longer was I going to say to myself, I don't have time. Somebody else will do it. There was too much at stake. My great-grandmother fought for my right to vote, and she persisted until she won. And by God, so would we. Since that day, the Women's Alliance has grown to 355 members strong. Talking about everything we have done is a much longer conversation. What I would like to do is encourage you to engage and commit today to taking simple steps to become politically active. Here are 3 simple things I learned. 1, actions count. Simply identify your elected officials at the local, state, and federal levels. Educate yourself about them as well as your community. Email, call, visit, write postcards. Let them know what issues are important to you and how you want them to vote. They actually work for you. Get trained to register voters and go to community colleges and universities and other communities to register people. Join our group or your local indivisible group. Offer to help. What's really important to remember is number 2. Humanity and the earth do not have time for you to be too busy and tired. Get up and do something. Finally, be persistent. Don't put obstacles in front of yourself or others. People doubted me all the time. What's the goal of your group? Do you even know what you're doing? I didn't. I would tell them my goal was simple, to persist, to consistently bring women together and see what happens. And after all of you know, when women come together, great things can happen. Let your life speak. Thank you.
Our next speaker, we have Wakenya Clanton, Associate Director of Community Engagement at the Democratic National Committee.
Fired up? Fired up? Good afternoons, ladies and friends. It is indeed a pleasure to join you here this afternoon as we celebrate the 1-year anniversary of when we sent a message to the world that women are here to stay, that we will not go quietly into the night, and that this is our time. My heart is so full at the sight of the array of badassness and beauty that is out here today. 2016 was undeniably a gut check for us all. No one could have predicted the predicament that we would land in. But I must say, no one had a more appropriate response and solution to the mess that we're in than women. Last year, millions of women organized, mobilized, and marched. This year, though we're still marching, we've taken it a notch further, and now we're running. We run so that women's rights are no longer on the negotiating table for Trump's poker buddies and his billionaire friends. We run because every child deserves clean water, healthy food, safe environments, quality health care, and a quality education. Women across this world are putting their names on ballots and changing the course of this history. We have said that it's simply enough. Enough senseless government shutdowns, leaving our country defenseless because people don't want to do their jobs. Enough of women being made to feel uncomfortable in the workplace, on the trains, on the buses, on the airplanes, down the street. Enough is enough. Enough of families living in fear of separation and deportation. Enough of playing politics with people's lives. Trump may be unstable, but he is not unstoppable. Now, I have the awesome honor of standing before you to introduce a man who has not only celebrated women, but who has trusted and invested in them. A man who knows that if we were ever able to restore civility back into this country, that it will be women that will lead the way. Ladies and friends, without further ado, the chairman of the Democratic National Committee, Tom Perez.
All right. Good afternoon, my friends. Give it up for Wakinya. As we say in my house, Wakinya's got game. I'm also proud to be here with my oldest daughter, Amalia, a senior in college. She's here. And you know, I want to say something about my friend Wakinya, because Wakinya spent a lot of time out of the office in the past few months. In fact, she spent almost a month down in Alabama helping Doug Jones become the United States Senator from Alabama. And thanks to African American women, 98% of whom voted for Doug Jones. 98%, the backbone of the Democratic Party. Doug Jones is now Senator Doug Jones. And before that, Wakinya was in Virginia, organizing up and down Virginia, from Hampton Roads to Northern Virginia, helping people up and down the ticket send a message to America that when we organize, when we field great candidates, and when we lead with our values, we win, folks. That's what we did. So thank you, Wakinya, for your work. I must tell you, it's a beautiful sight to look out here today. And I'll tell you one more thing. If the Congress, if the White House, if the governorships across America, if the legislatures across America had more women like I see here today, we'd be a much better America. There's no doubt about it. I asked President Trump and Sean Spicer to come over and count the crowd, but they didn't want to come. But no matter what they said, this is what an actual crowd looks like. We're all here for the same reason. We understand that our democracy is at risk. We understand that a year ago, Donald Trump and Mike Pence were sworn in and immediately began turning the clock back on women's rights. workers' rights, LGBT rights, immigrant rights, and our fundamental values of inclusion, opportunity, and tolerance that have always made America great. They nominated a Supreme Court justice who has repeatedly sided against women in reproductive health cases, against workers in employment cases. They embolden Republican governors in Kentucky and Texas who are hell-bent on closing abortion clinics and taking away a woman's constitutional right to make her own health decisions. They halted President Obama's equal pay rule. They halted an effort that we led at the Labor Department to make sure that companies that engaged in sexual harassment were held accountable. And they have tried again and again to repeal the Affordable Care Act. You know what, my friends? This doesn't simply affect women, it affects all of us. When a woman has to choose between her family and her job, that hurts all of us. When a single mom has to choose between paying for child care and paying for rent, that hurts all of us. When a woman's career suffers because she's forced out of the workforce because of sexual harassment, that hurts all of us. And that, my friends, women, everyone, that is why we must all fight to fix it. And I'm here to say thank you to the women across America who have led America back to its greatness. You responded by organizing. You responded by putting your name on the ballot. And as you know, more women are running for office than ever before. In the great Commonwealth of Virginia, the pundits said we couldn't win more than 4 or 5 seats in the State House of Delegates. Well, we won 15 seats in the Virginia House of Delegates. 15, and but for a coin flip, we would have won a 16th. And those 15 former House of Delegates members in Virginia are all men, replaced by 11 women, 11 strong women, including the first 2 Latinas in Virginia history, the first Asian American in Virginia's history, the first openly transgender woman in Virginia's history. They are our present, they are our future. And Virginia is not the only place where it's happened. And here's why it's happened. Because you've marched, you've spoken up. You've spoken up to protect health care, including the right of women to make their own choices about their bodies and their health. You're fighting for dreamers and will continue to fight for dreamers every day. You're standing up against policies that make the rich richer while making the rest of us pay. And you are leading a powerful revolution with Me Too and the Time's Up movement. And I'm here to say, time's up for Republicans. You know what, folks? Make no mistake about it. Women will be the reason this administration ends on January 19th, 2020. You know, the founding fathers get a lot of credit, but it's the marching mothers and daughters that continue to make this country great. Thank you for doing that. I am so proud to be here with my daughter Amalia. You know what? It is absolutely time to end the practice of giving our sisters and my daughter and my other daughter less options than their dreams demand. We must fight for their futures. We will continue to fight for their futures. And you know what, folks? I want you to keep one number in mind as we move forward. 290. There are 290 days until the November election in 2018. And that means there are 290 days until the Democrats take over the House of Representatives and the Democrats take over the Senate, and the Democrats win governor's races across this country, and the Democrats win state legislative races across this country. 290 days, my friends. But you know what? The arc of the moral universe is indeed long, and it does bend toward justice, but it never, ever, ever bends on its own. We must bend it together, and we must bend it together by understanding that we are living in unprecedented times. What is going on as we speak right now is quite literally unprecedented in our nation's history. Never has one party controlled the White House, the United States Senate, and the United States House of Representatives, and then shut down the federal government. That is what just happened. That is incompetence. That is immoral. And that is wrong. But that is what they did. But you know what? There's an equally important shutdown that we must respond to. And that is this president and this Republican Congress's effort to shut down basic American values of opportunity for everyone, inclusion, making sure that every zip code counts, making sure that every child is gifted and talented and is able to realize those gifts and talents. And how do we take back America? We do it the same way we have always done it. We organize and we vote and we lead with our values. So my friends, I say to you this: if you believe that people who work a full-time job can live a stress-free life and should live a stress-free life, you should organize and vote for Democrats. If you believe that anyone who works a full-time job should not have to live in poverty, you should organize and mobilize and vote with Democrats. If you believe that a woman's right to choose is a fundamental right that we should never interfere with, and it is part of women's economic empowerment, you should organize, mobilize, and vote for Democrats. If you believe that health care is a right for all and not a privilege for a few, you should organize, mobilize, and vote for Democrats. If you believe that the right to vote is our most sacred vote and that voter suppression is wrong, you should organize, mobilize, and vote for Democrats. If you believe that our dreamers are every bit as American as my American-born daughter, you should organize, mobilize, and vote for Democrats. If you believe that our Secretary of Education ought to believe in public education, you should organize, mobilize, and vote for Democrats. If you believe that our EPA administrator ought to get a tutorial on climate change, then you should organize, mobilize, and vote for Democrats. If you believe that every single person in this country should have access to safe drinking water, if you believe that we should build more schools and not more prisons, if you believe that every single person is entitled to a second chance, you should organize, mobilize, and vote for Democrats. If you believe that our first female president should not be Mother Russia, you should organize, mobilize, and vote for Democrats. That's what it's about, folks. We've got to take a page out of John Lewis's playbook, and that's what we did in 2017. We caused good trouble. We organized, we mobilized, and we won elections. We won elections in Oklahoma. We won elections in Iowa. We won elections in New Jersey, in Virginia, in Alabama, and elsewhere. And in 2018, we will continue that blue wave, but only if we do it together. Let's bend that arc together. Let's cause good trouble together. Let's pass the Equal Rights Amendment together. Let's go victorious together. Thank you very much. Keep up the great work and commit to vote every single election, every single day. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. We are so excited and want everyone to have fun and stay safe. The sun is shining, so please stay off the melting ice. Again, please stay off the melting ice. Our next speaker is Mia Mason, Civil Rights War.
Thank you, everybody from Virginia. I'm originally from Hampton Roads. I'm an LGBT veteran. I joined the Navy a long time ago, back in 1998, from a high school in IC Norcom. Anybody from there? No, I thought not. That's okay. So I'm in Maryland. I'm here in DC, where I'm in the DC National Guard. It's a great place to be. Anybody? Thank you. Well, this is a great story because it's about you. You are Jane Doe. It's about how much power you have as Jane Doe and how much you can fight as Jane Doe against two powerful administrations, and how much you can do as Jane Doe and how much you can have over two administrations. And this is that story. When you are also a man or a woman and you also claim the title as Jane Doe, you can also have that power. When you do this, you can also be a transgender individual like myself. And you can serve in the military now. You couldn't do that with Don't Ask, Don't Tell. That got turned down back in 2010 during the prior administration. Now we get to serve with equality. Most recently, we got tweeted by this administration, and Jane Does had to stand up and fight for equal rights once again. And now, all the men and women and transgender individuals of the LGBT community had to stand up and fight against this administration and say no more. We needed to make sure that we could stay in the military and make sure that we were part of this fighting force in the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Air Force, the Coast Guard, because we deserve to serve. The men and women deserve diversity in this armed forces. Long time ago, when I switched over and I transitioned from the Navy to the Army, it was called Blue to Green. Went to a place called Oklahoma, Fort Sill, Team Sill, Oklahoma Pride. There, I also went to Fort Benning and became an infantryman. Little did they know that I was actually transgender. There, I learned how to become an infantryman, which I knew that, hey, look, it wasn't for me. I was actually completely different. Went all the way over to Fort Campbell and became part of a soldier's girl, an inspirational story that took heart to me, allowed me to become more of who I was, where I needed to be. Went straight to Afghanistan, to Sabari. Learned what combat was, day in and day out. Took IDF every day, 3 times a day. Showed women exactly what combat was because we had women serving with us every day, and I witnessed what women could do. The MP battalion that was with us went out on the same patrols that we went on. I confided in them and told them that I was transgender. I went home, I got my hormones tested, and they told me that, congratulations, you're pregnant. Came back, went through a mass count, and I couldn't even tell anybody that, hey, look, I need help, because I could be outed. And that's because Don't Ask, Don't Tell ended without including transgendered soldiers. Yep. The Obama administration failed transgender soldiers. It didn't include me until later on. That's when I decided that I needed to come home to Virginia. But I couldn't come home. There was no equality at home. I came home to Maryland and DC, where there was equality. That wasn't true either. I got kicked out. I had to fight. I got on NBC News, fought against that administration, got back in, and then it was like deja vu. July 26th, first thing in the morning, Donald J. Trump said, "We're doing you a great favor. We're kicking you out." So I said to myself, that's not going to happen to me, and it's not going to happen to anybody else. You're not going to lose your home. You're not going to lose your car. You're not going to lose your daughter. You're not going to lose your jobs. This isn't going to happen to anybody else because it already happened to me. And it's not worth losing it all over again. And this is why, since he took office, it's been a civil rights war. First, he came after our immigrants. He came after our national origin. He came after our color. He came after our LGBT community. And then he came after me. And that's where the mistake happened. So, with that, no matter who you are, no matter where your name is, understand that when you stand here today, you are Jane Doe. And when you empower other people, you can help others. And this is why it's worth running for office, no matter what state you're in, because when you need to cross the pond, the monument, the mall, and enter office, you can use more votes and more power from the people in every state across this nation to do more good for more people everywhere else by using your vote now in this year today. That's the power of you, the women at this Women's March. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Toni Van Pelt, President of the National Organization for Women.
Good afternoon, activists. Women's rights are human rights. Yeah, and women have the right to be happy. And women have the right to be respected. We have the right to safe, legal, affordable abortion. And we have the right to birth control. And we have the right to be free of violence in our homes, in the streets, in our workplaces, and in our schools. This year's elections are crucial. They will either signal a turnaround for Donald Trump's ability to spread his racist, sexist, and intolerant agenda, or we will have another 2 years of the same. We are not going to let that happen. Women can determine the outcome in close elections. We need to build the excitement and enthusiasm right now to get out the massive vote we need in November, and we will do that. That's why the National Organization for Women is gearing up for an unprecedented year of political activism. Strong feminist candidates are running like never before. Women will no longer be treated with disrespect. As of today, there are 311 women running in Democratic primaries for the House of Representatives. Yeah. And 47 Democratic women are running for the Senate. Yeah, and at least 79 women are exploring runs for governor, potentially doubling a record for female candidates since 1994. Yeah, and we're going to get them elected. Now's PAC is interviewing candidates and making endorsements. We're seeing now chapters being infused with new energy, new members, and with new chapters being formed. Women recognized now are our advocates, their allies, and their partners in advancing the feminist majority. The special election in Alabama showed us that Trump and his allies can be defeated anywhere. Yeah, when women get out the vote. Look around you today. Look at this crowd. Feel the energy that's gathering here to make history in November. Do you remember that right-wing Republican Congressman Dave Bratt saying, "The women are in my grill no matter where I go"? Yeah, damn right. And we're at it again today. Yeah. If we don't stand up for our rights, Trump and his right-wing allies will take them away from us. Yesterday, I joined allies at the U.S. Supreme Court to demonstrate in support of abortion rights. Yeah, there were a lot of us there. Pence says he looks forward to the end of Roe versus Wade, having it consigned to the ash heap of history. Yeah. So, what are we going to do? We're going to elect a U.S. Senate that will never again vote to confirm an anti-divorce radical to the Supreme Court. Yeah, we're going to vote for Jackie Rosen. We're going to work for her. We're going to make phone calls. We're going to write her checks. We're going to go there and we're going to knock on doors for her. And we're going to vote for Christian Cinema from Arizona. We're going to flip the Senate. We must work for those running for the House. We need to elect a House of Representatives that won't pass a 20-week ban on abortion or a Heartbeat Protection Act or any other unconstitutional measures Republicans use to deprive women of their rightful health care. 1 year ago, a woman in Hawaii went online to start what became the largest single political demonstration in Washington since the Vietnam War. Yeah, the Women's March changed that narrative during Trump's first week in office, and he's never gotten over that. Today, we're sending Trump another message. Look out your window. See us, hear us, feel our power. You can't stop us with your tweets. You can't stop us with your bullying, and you can't stop us with your hate speech. We're marching to the polls in November, and Trump, we're voting against you and yours. Women have the right to be finally free of you. March on!
Our next speaker is Nucci Courier, president of the Women's National Democratic Club.
Good afternoon. My name is Nucci Courier, and I am inspired. I'm marching today and running for office tomorrow, and so should you. I'm joining hundreds of women across the country who are doing the same thing, taking the plunge. I am going to try to change the complexion of the Maryland legislature. Let me start by quoting Eleanor Roosevelt, an inspiration to us all. You should say to yourself, I have lived through this horror. I can take the next thing that comes along. You must do the thing you think you cannot do. These words resonate today because we've lived through the horror of the November 2016 elections, and we are still suffering the consequences of electing an anti-woman, anti-minority, anti-immigrant president. The Women's March was inspirational to say the least, making history. It was the thing that women dared to do, and it succeeded beyond everybody's wildest imagination. What was the march about? It was for peace, justice, and equality. It heralded the creation of a social movement for social progress. And this tidal wave has woken up a sleeping giant, and that is you. Thousands and thousands of women activists and hundreds of grassroots groups have erected a wall of resistance to the regressive policies of this administration. We honor the legacy of movements before us, the suffragists, the abolitionists, the civil rights movement, the feminist movement, the American Indian movement, the Occupy Wall Street movement, marriage equality, Black Lives Matter, and more. And we stand in solidarity with the 800,000 dreamers who are threatened in their homes today, the only home they have ever known. And we stand with Planned Parenthood. A shout out for Planned Parenthood. What is the source of this surge in activism a year out? It is women. Women are just fed up. Women are fed up that we make up only 20% of Congress. Women are fed up with sexual harassment. Women are fed up with Donald Trump. And women are fighting back. A festering wound of bigotry, misogyny, and exploitation lies exposed today. The healing can only happen if women take charge of their own destiny, if women occupy those same bastions of power from which they have been exploited. The last time the US saw a surge in women running for office was 1992 in the wake of Anita Hill's testimony. It was called the Year of the Woman because women were elected to the US House and Senate in record numbers. It is only when the power dynamic changes and women have a greater say and sway in politics and in the workplace that the exploitation of women will stop. The mantra of #MeToo has to now move to #IRan and #IWon. We are seeing already more women running, more women voting for women, more women turning out to vote. It makes women change agents. Let's say it. It makes women change agents and a powerful part of the formula for 2018 races. The organization She Should Run announced in July that it was launching a national campaign to achieve gender parity among America's elected officials by the year 2030. That involves galvanizing women to fill 250,000 of the nation's almost 500,000 elected positions. Let us resolve to make that happen. 1992 was the year of women. Let us make 2018 the beginning of the decade of women.
So now we have House Democratic Leader Nancy Pelosi and the members of the House Caucus.
No way,
Oh, I'm getting this selfie. Come on, Joe.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here and being there for the women of America and of the world. I'm honored to be here with my colleagues from the House of Representatives, whom you will shortly meet. But first, I have a few words to say to you. You know, when I was Speaker and as leader, people say to me, if you ruled the world, what one thing would you do? And that one thing I would do is educate women and girls. And I thank you, Emily and other organizers of the march and everyone who turned out, for educating women and girls to know their power. Last year, you came here in bigger numbers than those who came to see the new President of the United States, in much bigger numbers. And at that time, the women marched. They marched. And now they have run for office. And some of them have already won for office. Nothing is more wholesome to a government, to a country, to a society than the increased participation of women in the leadership and in the rank and file. We need women's participation. So it's absolutely essential. And you taught women to know their power in so many respects. By showing up, you transformed the world. Transformed the world. By showing up not only on the day of the march last year, but in airports and at town hall meetings and at congressional offices and on the mall of the Capitol to speak your conscience, to speak your truth. And your truth is never more important than now. We thought it was more important last year. Little did we know the truth that immigrants are the wholesome invigoration of America and the dreamers make us dream again. That women in politics make the wholesome difference. And the more we have, the better off our country will be. And that's the truth. And I'll tell you one other truth. We just came from the Capitol, where our Republican colleagues have shut down government. And you know what's sad about it? They're hiding behind children. They're pretending they care about children's health, the CHIP program, when they have overwhelmingly voted against it in the past. They say they love the dreamers, but they really don't want to help them now. There is some bipartisan support, but you must help bring out the truth in those so they have the courage. This budget fight is not just about the dreamers. It's about our investments in the future. It's about fairness in our economy. It's about ensuring that everyone enjoys the prosperity of America. And it's about honoring our values of LGBT rights in our country, about values of protecting God's creation, this beautiful planet, clean air, clean water. It's about reforming our criminal justice system so that it is more fair. It's about protecting a woman's right to choose. It's about fair immigration policy. And it's about
gun safety in our country, for economic justice. Last week we observed Martin Luther King Day. He talked about economic justice. He said he didn't think there should be a God intended a society when some people would enjoy inordinate wealth while others participate in abject poverty. That is part of the fight that we have, and the truth is that our budget recommendations address just that. So while we have this president celebrating his one-year anniversary, let's give him an F for his performance.
F minus.
He said a good shutdown is good for the country. Not so. And one more thing. His OMB director said on TV last night, I just learned that I'm the one person who could shut down government. Mulvaney said that. And he said, I think that's cool. Well, we don't think it's cool, and we're going to make it too hot for them to handle. And the way we're going to do it is with the truth, So rather than going into all the agonies of the Republicans, let's just say this. We don't agonize, we organize. Yeah. And leading the way to do that are our House Democrats, of whom I'm so proud. Their unity and the unity of the Senate Democrats under the leadership of Chuck Schumer and Dick Durbin just showed the world we're here for our values. And so I'm just going to, with your permission, pass the mic so our members can just say hi, their name and where they're from. Chair of our caucus.
Joe Crowley, blessings from New York. I wish I was there, but I'm glad I'm here.
That was too much.
Congresswoman Joyce Beatty, the great state of Ohio.
Lois Franco, the sunshine state of Florida.
Adriano Espaillat, de Nueva York.
Susan Davis, San Diego, California.
Julia Brownlee, Ventura County, California.
Norma Torres, great state of California.
Brenda Lawrence from Detroit, Michigan, enough is enough.
Alma Adams, the great state of North Carolina.
Val Demings, the great state of Florida. Robin Kelly, the city of Chicago. Who rocks the world? Girls. Congresswoman Terry Sewell from Alabama. Sheila Jackson Lee, Houston, Texas. Wish I was there.
Don't you love the beautiful diversity of the House Democrats? Over 50% women, minorities, and LGBT community members.
Barbara Lee, 13th Congressional District of California, Oakland and Berkeley, where we resist and stay woke.
Suzanne Bonamici from the great state of Oregon.
Frank Pallone, New Jersey.
Sandy Levin from Michigan, we won't let it happen again, right?
Don Norcross, New Jersey. Mom, you're always with me.
Jamie Raskin, the Free State of Maryland.
Judy Chu, Los Angeles County, California.
Rick Nolan, the North Star State of Minnesota.
Jackie Spear from the Golden State of California.
Paul Tonko from the Capital Region of New York.
Raja Krishnamurthy from the great state of Illinois, and I am not from Norway.
Carolyn Maloney from the great city of New York, New York.
I'm proud to be here, Nancy Pelosi of California. Last year, I marched with my grandchildren. They're marching this year, Bella and Christine, in San Francisco. I yelled. Wouldn't you love to see this group serve in the majority, this beautiful, diverse Democratic Party? So you've marched, you've run, and now you must have your voices heard by voting. We have to turn out at the polls to make the difference. Are you ready to make that difference? One more. Okay. Mark,
Hi, I'm Congressman Mark Connolly from Riverside, California, where my mother is marching in the Riverside March.
Okay, are we ready for a great victory for women? I thought so. We march, we run, we vote, we win. Yeah. Thank you all very much.
Great job. Perfect. Pretty good for them. Fired up and ready to go. Woo, woo, woo.
Our next speaker is Senator Gillibrand.
Hello, everybody. 1 year ago, the day after President Trump gave that dark and dystopian speech when he was sworn into office, something extraordinary happened. We saw the rebirth of the women's movement when men and women came together across the country and the world for the single largest global protest in history. It was one of the most inspiring moments of my entire political career. It was so powerful because it was both intersectional and intergenerational. People coming together from all walks of life to make their voices heard. We saw people march for the first time in their lives, people who had been around the block and everywhere in between. 1 year later, as we can see by this crowd and the marches across the country, we did not just march and go home. You have not stopped, because we will not stop. 1 year later, the grassroots energy is growing, not fading, and it is women who are holding our democracy together in these dangerous times. It is women who all across the country are taking their outrage and running for office, volunteering for campaigns, and in many cases joining advocacy groups or taking action for the very first time. A historic number of women are running for office this year. Most of them are first-time candidates, and they are winning. Women like Danica Roem in Virginia, who beat the homophobe who introduced the transphobic bathroom bill. And Ashley Bennett in New Jersey, who beat an incumbent who mocked the Women's March by wondering whether the marchers would be home in time to cook dinner. To change the system, we need to change the players list by having more women at the table. So I urge everyone here to support women candidates at every level. Just imagine for one moment what it would be like if we had 51% of women in Congress. Do you think we'd be still fighting for birth control? No. Do you think we would still be fighting to end the institutional biases that allow sexual assault to fester in the shadows and remain so pervasive across this country? No. Do you believe it would be so hard to change the workplace rules that were born in the Mad Men era, like creating a national paid leave plan? No. And do you think we would allow dreamers to be used as political pawns in a manufactured government shutdown? No. The only time our democracy has ever worked is when regular people just like you stand up and demand it. Do not wait for a white knight to march from Washington or the party to solve the problem. You will be waiting forever. It is the grassroots. It is you who will create the message, who will launch the campaigns, who will win the elections. The resistance is you, not politicians in Washington. The only reason we don't have Trump care today is because you, the grassroots, stood up, stood tall, fought back, and said no. It's because of you that we stopped the defunding of Planned Parenthood. It is because of the huge turnout of black women in Alabama that a credibly accused pedophile was kept out of the U.S. Senate. And so for each of us, I think this is a moment where all of us individually are called to act. It is a time such as this that we are called to fight. It is a time such as this when all of us must fight for economic opportunity no matter what block you grow up on. I'm asking you to fight to level the playing field. If you care about equality for every man and every woman, no matter their race, their sexual orientation, or gender identity, I am asking you to fight for social justice. If you care about women's access to health care, please keep fighting for Planned Parenthood. If you care about ending the systemic mass incarceration that robs too many of our young people of a future, I am asking you to fight for true criminal justice reform. If you care about getting money out of politics, I am asking you to fight to end Citizens United and ban corporate money. If you care about protecting our dreamers who have known no other country than America as their home, I am asking you, keep calling your representatives in Congress. Demand that dreamers will not be used as political pawns just to fund an ineffective border wall that Mexico was supposed to pay for. And if you care about winning back the House, flipping the Senate, so that we can have a check on this president, I urge you to support Democratic candidates all across this country. Whether the issue is that most important for you, each one of you is the agent for change. Each one of your voices is so important. We can start a movement locally, nationally, at our companies, in our communities, on college campuses, or at our own kids' schools. It's up to us. This is our moment to stand tall, to fight back, and to be heard.
Our next speaker is Mathoni Wambu-Crawl. She is the Vice President of National Outreach and Training of Emily's List.
Good afternoon, Sisters. Good afternoon, Sisters. I am Mathoni Wambu-Crawl, and I'm the Vice President of National Outreach and Training at Emily's List, the nation's largest resource for progressive women. And a year ago today, like many of you, I was getting ready to march, and I did. And then the next morning, I got up at 4 a.m., kissed my still sleeping 3-year-old and my husband goodbye. I was outfitted in my nasty Women Unite shirt and my pink hair, which in honor of this auspicious anniversary, I decided to make steel. As a Kenyan American, I was a little tempted to call it shithole steel, but Donald Trump is obsessed enough with half Kenyans, no need to incite a jealous rage, travel ban, or something. But back to a year and 2 days ago, I drove in the dark and I felt the weight of what was in front of me. It is the weight that was and is my privilege to bear. If nervousness is my biggest fear in a day, I claim that as privilege. That morning, it was due to the recognition of how important it was for me to not just train the 500 women who showed up that morning to learn how to run for office, but to also fire up the women who gathered to learn how to help a woman run for office. Women who had also risen early and kissed loved ones goodbye, perhaps several days prior. Many from out of town who had come by planes, trains, and automobiles. Many who had gathered talking late into the night after the march and still showed up early the next morning, because no matter our distances, no matter our differences, thank you, Intersectional Women's March organizers. We were one in the hell no statement we came to make the day before, and the community we found in the process. But it didn't end there. This group was ready to take it further, to commit to a different level. They showed up because they were ready to do something about a fundamental truth we know with power. If you are not at the table, you are what? On the menu. Family, I work for Emily's List, an organization that has been helping to elect pro-choice Democratic women for 33 years. In 1992, Emily's List was a part of what became known as the Year of the Woman, as my sister spoke of earlier, driven by the outrage women felt at Professor Anita Hill's treatment during the Clarence Thomas hearings. You know, outrage. Like the growing fury I felt as a freshman at Howard University, watching how Professor Hill was so crudely taken apart because they didn't believe her. Outrage like that which has driven over 26,000 women, like many of you, to reach out to Emily's List since the 2016 election. They are our future state legislators, mayors, city councilors, members of Congress, school board members, district attorneys, water board members, you name it, women are coming for it. In fact, do I have any women out here who are running today? Do I have any folks out here who are going to help a woman to run? At Emily's List, we know that women run for office because they're mad or because they want to fix something. And we've always said, watch out for the women for whom it is both. This is not business as usual, family. We've got a whole lot of brilliant, diverse, dedicated, both learning how to run for office across this country and putting their names on the ballot. These women who will become the entire future generation of transformational leaders. This transformation won't be complete in 2018, and it won't be complete in 2020. It's just getting started. In fact, construction has begun ahead of schedule. Am I correct for our 2017 victories? But it's not a minute too soon, is it? As we sit here with our government shut down, experience the real consequences of this White House, this Congress, and please, dear God, continue to keep watch over our progressive justices, the Supreme Court. So we must do more than stay woke. While this president works at building a wall, we've been hard at work building movements. And we know that this coalition of old and new will ensure the success of the organizers who are leading victories from Charlotte, North Carolina, to Washington State, to New Jersey, down to Texas, Georgia, where we will elect our first Black woman governor to serve in this country, Stacey Abrams. We are going to make 2018 even better, and we will do this together because progress does not come easy. We've got a lot of work ahead. 2018 has already been called the Year of the Woman, but just as last year's Women's March was more than a one-day demonstration, this will stretch far beyond 1 year. This is not a wave, it's a sea change that you are all a part of. And as my Aunt Alice and my Uncle Buzz, who are here with me today, have always said, if you don't do politics, you will have politics done to you. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ellie Smeel, President of the Feminist Majority.
How sweet this is! As we are standing here in D.C. with tens of thousands of people, we are all over this nation with 250 marches and events. We're in Los Angeles and New York, in Vegas and Mar-a-Lago. Millions are marching today, and tens of thousands are marching here. And they said we would be a one-day event. They have no idea that this movement has been for decades, and it's going to be for as long as it takes to get to full equality. The message that we're sending today is that we're not only marching, we're voting, we're running, and we're winning. We have a pink wave that's coming to the state legislatures, to the governor's mansions, to Congress. And we want to make sure that we keep our eyes on the prize. So we are going to introduce right now two of the Feminist Majority's next wave that are coming in. And we have all generations up here. We have Dr. Nadia Hashmini. She will be the first Afghan American to run for Congress, and she's going to change the image of Afghanistan. She's a pediatrician who is tired of dodgers and right-wing ones in Congress trying to deny women's rights to reproductive rights. And we also have up here Allison Friedman, who is running in Virginia 10th against right-wing Barbara Kostak. I want to share my time with the future, so the first Afghan woman to be speaking for Afghanistan, not only in the Congress, but speaking for women's health in Congress, Dr. Nadia Hashmini.
Hello, DC. It is a pleasure to look out in the nation's capital and see pink, strong. I attended this march last year out of outrage. I stood with fellow physicians ready to demand change. And this year, I stand in front of this crowd as a candidate because I've decided, like so many of you, that enough is enough. And if we are the majority, then we should look like it. So in 2018, I, who am a descendant of Afghans, a country that could be classified as one of those bleep hole countries, stand before you as a physician, and I'm ready to make this year a year where we can have the last of the first, because we have reached a time that we shouldn't still be putting out the first woman to do this and the first woman to do that. Our time is now. Vote with your feet, vote with your signs, vote with your wallets, and please vote at the polls.
My name is Allison Friedman, and I'm a first-time candidate running for Congress in Virginia's 10th District. And standing in front of this icon of unity, I think about our president, and I think about the founders, and I think they knew that at some point we would have an unfit tyrant in the White House. What they didn't count on was a Congress without the courage to hold him accountable. But I look out here and I see courage. I see courage in the silence breakers and the dreamers, in the moms who demand and the Black lives that matter and deliver Alabama. And courage that says to Congress, if this job is too hard, and if this president is too scary to take on, we will take your place. We are ready to fight for a government that doesn't shut down and understands that you can't incentivize work if childcare costs more than you're paid. We're ready to make healthcare accessible and affordable. We're ready to deal in facts and science and with ethics and integrity. And we're ready to run, because the only thing scarier than stepping into this ring is seeing what happens when we don't. Thank you.
Yes, there's going to be a pink wave, a blue wave, and there's going to be feminists marching until we have full equality for all. And now some of our allies in Congress didn't quite wake the first wave, but they're here now. We got to know we have good friends in Congress fighting every day, and we intend to increase their numbers. And so Debbie Wasserman Schultz just came, and I want to introduce her and thank her for fighting every day.
Thank you so much. Thank you to Ellie Smeal, who has been fighting the good fight for nearly my entire life with the Feminist Majority. It is so incredibly important that we continue to send the message as women and the men who aligned with us to Donald Trump that we will not roll over, we will not give in. And I'm here representing the great state of Florida, sending a shout out to my sisters in Miami who I'd love to be with tomorrow. But instead, we're going to stay here and fight to stand up for the dreamers, to stand up for our sisters and for the women and for my daughters and generation from generation to ensure that we can have equality and equity and be able to make sure that we don't need any more Me Too or Time's Up movements. Thank you for being here. Thank you for standing with us. And it's now my privilege to introduce my colleague from the great state of Washington, Pramila Jayapal.
Hello, Washington, D.C. I'm Pramila Jayapal from Seattle, Washington, and proud to be the first Indian American woman in the U.S. House of Representatives. And let me tell you, Democrats are standing strong for our values and our principles. We are going to fight for dreamers, for kids who need health insurance. We are going to fight to put funding into the opioid crisis. We are going to fight for what every working American deserves in this country, and women are going to lead the way. And now it's my great honor to introduce from the great state of Tennessee, Steve Cohen.
Thank you. America, this is a beautiful picture. I'm from Memphis, the blue star in a red state, where thousands of women met today in a march rally for women's rights. I'm proud to stand here as one of the sponsors, along with Representative Jayapal and 7 other of our colleagues, who filed H-Res 621 to impeach Donald J. Trump. He has violated the Emoluments Clause. He has obstructed justice. He, in an authoritarian manner, has stood up in ways that the press and the judiciary should never see to try to stomp on them. We will not allow it. 3 years from today, the biggest, most tremendous, hugest crowd in the history of Washington will gather here to see the election and the inauguration of the next President of the United States, someone who believes in justice, freedom, and democracy. Join me here. I bring on Representative Jimmy Gomez from California.
Thank you so much. So my name is Jimmy Gomez. I'm from Los Angeles, the home of the resistance. And I am the first Democrat elected to Congress in the Trump era. And we're going to make it one of the shortest presidencies in modern history. And I believe still in this country that if you come here, no matter where you are from, no matter the color of your skin, no matter the God you worship, that if you come here, you believe in our country and its ideals, that all men and women are created equal, that you deserve a place here in the United States of America. And I'd like to say thank you, because the resistance is not just in the halls of Congress or the city hall chambers or the state houses. It's in the streets, it's in the homes, it's in the blocks, it's in Planned Parenthood clinics, that women want to be treated fairly and get equal health care. So I wanted to say thank you, keep up the fight, because this fight continues, the struggle endures, and the dream will live on.
Our next speaker is Marcella Howe. She is the Executive Director of In Our Own Voice, the National Black Women's Reproductive Justice Agenda.
morning, or actually it's afternoon now. Good afternoon, everybody. And yes, we are going to march soon. A year ago, millions of women and men came out to protest the election of a racist, xenophobic, homophobic, sexual predator. While the protests were very energetic and have spawned all kinds of actions throughout the country, we still have Donald Trump in the White House, and we still have a Republican-controlled Congress that is unwilling to stand up for these anti-woman, anti-black, anti-Muslim, anti-poor policies. But I don't really want to talk about Donald Trump today. I want to tell a different story, a much more visionary story. On December 12th, an unlikely scenario developed. 1.3 million voters voted in the special election in Alabama. 229,289 black women voted. They cast 98% of their votes for a former federal prosecutor who supported the Affordable Care Act, who opposed additional restrictions to abortion rights, and who prosecuted the 2 Klansmen who were responsible for the bombing of a church that murdered 4 young black women. On that same day, 418 white women voted. 34% of them voted for the former prosecutor, but 63% voted for a conservative, evangelical, anti-abortion pedophile. We can march every single year, but the best way to stop the right-wing policies coming out of the Trump administration is to change the people who make the decisions. And women have the power to make that change. Black women have consistently voted for candidates who support voting rights, women's rights, civil rights, the rights of LGBT people, workers' rights. But we need all women as our partners. Right after the presidential election last year, I sat down and had coffee with a friend. She was white. And she told me that she had voted for Hillary Clinton, but that her mother, her 2 sisters, and her sister-in-law had voted for Donald Trump. I asked her why, and she said, "I didn't ask." So for the next 9 months, our task is very simple. Talk to your mothers, your sisters, your sister-in-laws, your nieces, your cousins, your friends. Have those family fights over politics that you don't really want to have. Yeah, you know, those holiday family fights, only this time make it about who they're going to vote for. Because those are the kind of discussions that are critical to changing the toxic environment we now live in. We have thousands of women who are stepping up to run for office, but they will not win without women's votes. 2018 will be the year when women become
the decisions makers. So march, take to the streets, but of all things, vote. Remember, we are the ones we've been waiting for. Thank you.
Hey guys, hey everyone. Thank you so much for your patience. We have just a few more speakers and we will be marching shortly. So please give our speakers some more of your time and attention because we are so grateful to have them and their message is really important. So please just bear with us for another 20, 30 minutes. We really appreciate it. Yeah. 10 minutes. Can you give me 10 minutes, please? Thank you, because our speakers, we're really excited to have them. So just 10 more minutes, okay? Thank you.
Our next speaker is Daryl Davis. He is a musician, actor, author, and lecturer at Lyrad Productions.
Well, good afternoon. I want to thank Emily and all the organizers of the Women's March for having all these wonderful speakers here delivering this great message. And right now, you know, we've done the talk, and very soon, in about 10 minutes or so, it's going to be time to walk the walk. You know, we keep hearing, make America great again. Well, I think we better start with making America great, period. You can't make, and there is no greatness without equality. And I know a little bit about equality. I've worked for the last almost 32, 33 years bringing sense to people who would join organizations such as the Ku Klux Klan and neo-Nazi movements, and I've had a great deal of success. But discrimination does not start or end with just color or race. There are all kinds of discrimination, and today we're going to fight it against discrimination against women. And there's no way that anybody here can tell me that they exist without a woman involved. How is it in the 21st century women are still making 79 cents to my dollar for the same amount of work? And we call ourselves the greatest nation on the face of this earth. Don't get me wrong, I love my country, I'm very patriotic, but I do have some issues with that statement. Perhaps we are the greatest technologically. We put a man on the moon. And while Neil Armstrong was walking around talking about one small step for man and one giant leap for mankind, we were able to talk with him live via satellite radio phone all the way to the moon. We invented that technology. Everybody here has a cell phone. Everybody here has email. Hit a few numbers, hit a few words, hit send, and you're talking to people right next door in Virginia, Maryland, California, Africa, China, Australia, anywhere on the face of this earth. We invented that technology. So, how is it that we have a country, and there are countries around the world that somebody referred to as blank hole countries that have female presidents, female prime ministers, etc. It seems to me that before we can call ourselves the greatest nation on the face of this earth, perhaps our ideology needs to catch up to our technology. And then we can truly brag about how great we are. March yourselves to the polls. You know, and it's going to take men as well. And I'm addressing all you men out there to stand up to the plate. Talk to your brothers, talk to your sons, talk to your fathers, talk to your coworkers. We need to support these women. They say, behind every good man, there's a good woman. Well, now it's time for the good men to stand behind these good women. And we must support them and give them a safe place that will allow them to speak out and not have to, like the lady the other day, I won't call her name, but you know who she is, so they don't have to strip themselves of their dignity and integrity and lie under oath in order to protect their male boss and keep their job. We want women to have the same safe place we do, and we want women to have equal pay that we have for equal work. And we're going to make that happen this year. Thank you all very much.
Our next speaker is Nadia Hassan. She is the lead, of the Young Leaders Institute.
Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon all of you. When we learned of the outcome of the election last year, there was a sweeping fear among children that sparked national attention as the school kids expressed their fear of wanting to go to school under the new administration. Never before have I seen such a national outcry from the most vulnerable members of our country, our children. This brought me to tears, and I felt helpless, and I had no idea how I can help our youngsters. And so at that moment, I heard the echoes of my late father, whose voice rang in my ears, and as he said, "Helpless? Nonsense. That's rubbish. No such thing." And so, that had he been alive, that would have prompted a 3-day lecture. And he would have told me how, as a child, he had to walk to school in the snow, uphill both ways, with holes in his shoes. And then he would have told me about how he had to leave his family at such a young age to join the United States Marines and to serve our country proudly, and how the Army made a man out of him. So in my household, there was no room for helpless. And at that time, I knew that things were about to get ugly and that nothing was going to change without a fight. And so I turned to the only inspiration that I knew, and that was the Holy Quran, the word of God that was given to Prophet Muhammad. Yes, the Quran, the same Quran that Thomas Jefferson used as a reference when he authored the Declaration of Independence. And if you have not seen that Quran, it is on display at the Library of Congress, and I encourage you all to go see it there. And so Thomas Jefferson was a champion for civil liberties and people's freedoms. And let's not forget that it was Jefferson who was the main promoter of the Bill of Rights, as he saw a need for additional protections and liberties and freedoms for Americans beyond what the Constitution offered at that time. And so is it surprising to you that our First Amendment rights, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the press, free choice and free will were all liberties that were awarded to humanity by God in the Quran 1400 years ago? And is it also surprising to know that The Quran is an avid supporter of women's rights. Woo! Women's rights. And get this, the Quran gave women rights equal to that of man. Equal. Really equal. And women in the 7th century enjoyed liberties that many women don't have today. And so I can't help but wonder, is modernity taking us forward or is it taking us backwards? And so right now I'd like to share 2 sources of inspiration that really helped me at this moment when I was feeling helpless and at an all-time low. The first source of inspiration came from a verse in the Quran where our Creator says, and I quote, "God will not change a condition of a people until they first change what is in themselves." In other words, if you want to see change in your external environment, change the condition of your internal environment. Change the condition of your heart and your mind. If you want to see more love in the world, have a loving heart. If you want more positivity around you, think positive thoughts. If you want more peace in the world, be the peace you want to see around you. It's just that simple. And if you want to see a better government, go out and vote. The second source of inspiration came to me from an iconic pop singer who sang "Man in the Mirror." Michael Jackson's message in this song almost identically mirrors the verse from the Quran that I just quoted, as the chorus states, "If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make that change." The song goes deeper to say, "I see the kids in the street without enough to eat. Who am I to be blind, pretending not to see their needs?" Have we become blinded by our greed and our own selfish ways that we can no longer see the needs and the rights of others? We are losing our youth to drugs, to violence, to gangs, to suicide, and to poverty. We have more homeless and poor children in this country than any other industrialized nation. And I guarantee you this administration will do nothing about it. My heart goes out to my El Salvadorian brothers and sisters, for those who are no longer protected under the TPS. And I want to tell you that the Muslim community stands with you. So today, I stand before you with renewed intentions. And I'm going to change my ways. And like Michael said, it starts with the man in the mirror. But in my case, as a Lebanese American Muslim woman who is the daughter of a U.S. Marine, it starts with this woman in the mirror. And so as the executive director of Young Leaders Institute, I am dedicating my life's work to empowering our youth to reaching their greatest potential and to helping them become the world's greatest innovators and agents of change that we know they are. And let's not put our young people in a box. They are not the future leaders or the leaders of tomorrow. They are the leaders of today. And we need to let them know that they matter too. And so I'd like to urge all of you, and especially all the millennials out there, to stand shoulder to shoulder and hold hands, and let's march on to the polls. Power to the polls, and let's have a say in who represents us. And I know I spoke of 2 sources of inspiration, but I actually have a third, and I brought that third source with me today. And she is someone who has been an advocate for getting the vote out, especially in the midterm elections. Please welcome to the stage my daughter, Rayana Williams.
Hey guys! My name's Ariana, and right now I'm going to encourage all of you to vote for the 2018 midterm elections. Now I know what you're thinking. Why is this kid telling you what to do? Well, that's because in 2016, certain adults decided to elect a man that I do not like into the White House. I was so scared that I didn't even want to go to school. And now I'm here to ask you to please do something about it. I know I'm just a kid, but even I know that every single vote counts. Look at what happened in Virginia. We won the House by 1 vote, just 1 vote. So this November, please go out and vote so you can give a kid like me and all the kids in the crowd a chance for a good future. Thank you very much, and let's power the polls together.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next speaker is Brittany Oliver, founding director of Not Without Black Women.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brittany Oliver, and I am the founding director of Not Without Black Women based in Baltimore, Maryland. Woo! Not Without Black Women is a social and political organization that started last summer. We are an organization that focuses on Black women's issues through self-expression, dialogue, and sisterhood. Our work is rooted in youth mentoring, community service, political advocacy, and community organizing. If you all remember or are very familiar with me, a year ago I challenged white feminism for the Women's March on Washington a year ago, back during this time. So a year later, I'm here speaking in front of you today. All right? So Black women, right? Not Without Black Women. What do we think that means and what that stands for? We've had examples, historical examples over and over again of what it means for Black women, how important it is our voices is, right? You saw the results from Alabama. You saw Me Too. Tarana Burke. Clap it up for her. And the work that she's done for over 10 years and didn't get recognition for until recently. Black women's issues need to be at the forefront in order for this country to move forward, right? Issues where Black women are the face include human trafficking, police brutality, rape culture, wage equality, street harassment, workplace discrimination, immigration discrimination, all of it. Black women are the face of these issues, and we need you. Everybody needs to do a better job at supporting Black women, right? I'm going to read a quick list of names of Black women who we have lost in this country to police brutality. Ayanna Stanley, Kendra James, Rakia Board, Sandra Bland, Tanisha Anderson, Corinne Gaines, Yvette Smith, Joyce Cornell, Kendra Chapman, Renette Turner. Say her name. Say her name. Clap it up. Moving forward, supporting Black and brown grassroots organizations in your communities, we exist. Support them, elect Black women. All right? Last but not least, give a clap it up to Erica Gardner, who risked her life fighting for her father. Her family has not seen justice yet. Clap it up for her. She is not with us anymore. She is the face of the movement. All right, so we're short on time, but before I go, I want you all to repeat after me, right? Let me tell you what you need to say. Not without, oh, wait a minute, that's not, hold on. Wait, hold on. Not without, y'all ready? All right. 1, 2, 3, not without, 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 not without. Woo! Thank you all. Thank you to the organizers, and thanks to everyone that's standing behind me. We are a group of folks from Baltimore, Maryland. Clap it up for them. All right, thank you all so much. I appreciate it. Support Black women.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kofi Annan, President of Fairfax NAACP. Exactly 1 year ago, approximately 5 million women across the country stood up against the hate of the Trump campaign. At the time, a lot of people thought that it was just a bunch of angry liberals blowing off some steam. But boy, were they wrong. A year later, we have approximately 50 women running for the Senate and 400 running for the House. You did that. Thank you. Thank you for standing up against the hate. Thank you for standing up to show the rest of the world that the Trump hate does not represent the majority of America. Thank you for reorienting America's moral compass. Last year, even though most of us were pretty upset about the Trump victory, we all kind of held out hope that the presidency wouldn't look anything like the campaign. But I think we all kind of grossly underestimated just where Trump's bottom was. The bottom wasn't describing Mexicans as rapists and drug dealers. It wasn't bragging about assaulting women. It wasn't calling for the Muslim ban. It wasn't encouraging supporters to assault protesters at rallies, or Ben Carson describing slaves as immigrants, or describing neo-Nazis as good people. It wasn't describing NFL players as SOBs, and it certainly won't be describing Black and brown developing countries as S-holes. There is no moral bottom. And the reason that there is no bottom is because this president doesn't have a moral compass. Instead of trying to reunite us and encourage us to imagine a more inclusive society, he is instead using this most powerful platform in the world to divide us and to promote hate. That's why we see a rise in groups like the KKK, terrorist groups like the KKK, because even though you won't hear about this on Fox News or even CNN, 75% of the terrorist acts that happen in this country are perpetrated by white supremacists, not Muslims. But we won't hear a ban for the KKK, will we? They're the real terrorists. Trump's obsession with Barack Obama's legacy is more than about Barack Obama's legacy. It's about trying to erase the hope that he instilled in us. It's about trying to put us back in our place. It's about trying to remind minorities and women that we are never supposed to be equal, much less strive for greatness. But he miscalculated our resolve as a nation and as a people. We won't look back. We don't look back because we know that looking forward and our future is brighter than our past ever will be. So we won't stop fighting for equality for women. We won't stop fighting to end police brutality. We won't stop fighting for a living wage. We won't stop fighting for immigrants to be treated like human beings. We won't stop fighting for quality, affordable education and housing and affordable health care. And we won't stop fighting for LGBTQ rights. At the same time, we can't be so distracted by Trump's Twitter account that we lose sight of the actual policies that are put in place. We got to make sure that the Muslim ban actually dies for once and for all. We have to make sure that the wall doesn't go up and we don't pay for it. We have to make sure that both documented and undocumented immigrants stop losing their protections like they are every day. And that criminal justice reform actually gets done instead of being led by Jared Kushner now that he's done solving the Middle East. We have to keep fighting for environmental protections because those are fading every day. I'm closing on a somber note only to remind you that, look, we have a lot of work to do and we have an uphill battle, but I know we're up for it. We have to be up for it because we have to make sure that we leave a better future for the next generation. Let's get to work, America. Keep standing in the face of hate. Thank you.
Hola, mi gente! It is such an honor to be in front of the sea of beautiful people. I know you all want to march. I promise there's 4 more speakers. I know. Let me tell you. My name is Anne-Marie Benitez, and on behalf of the National Latina Institute for Reproductive Health and the 28 million Latinas in this country, I want to send a message loud and clear to our elected officials. Women of color are watching, we are voting, and our voices will be heard. This has been a difficult year. Women of color, trans people, immigrants, people with disabilities, folks with low incomes, Muslims and Native communities have faced sustained attacks on our bodies, our livelihood, and our autonomy. But in spite of the administration's attacks to take women and the world back to the dark ages, we have resisted. And our presence here today and every day is a testament that we are strong and we will not be defeated. I know this because this fight is not new, and our communities have been down this road before. I see this when I see dreamers stand up without fear. I see this when I see mothers like my mom who day in and day out work hard to provide for our families and keep us close together despite systems trying to keep us apart. I see this when trans and queer individuals refuse to be silenced, as this administration allows for doctors to deny health services based on the doctor's religious or personal belief. I see this when individuals like Jane Doe fight to access for their abortion, even when the government tries to stop them, and still win. We cannot stop, and we will not stop. We are tired. We are tired of the anti-choice, anti-immigrant, anti-women politicians creating laws that hurt us all. We have to act now. You know why? Because we are the backbone of this country, and we are the change makers. Not only is it time to listen to the voices of women of color, it is also time to follow their leadership. Together, we will fight for racial justice and Black liberation, for quality, affordable health care for all, for equal access to education, for an end to the deportation machine that tears apart families, for humane immigration reform, and liberation for our queer and trans communities. Each and every one of us is needed to advance our vision for justice and equality and transform the political landscape in this country. As poet and radical activist June Jordan said, we are the ones we have been waiting for. Si se puede! Yes, we can! Thank you!
Hello, everyone. My name is Wendy Wallace, and I'm the Political Director for Planned Parenthood Action Fund. It is such an honor to be here, to be invited here to speak to you today. Following the march last year, women all across the country flooded congressional phone lines, swarmed town halls, and rallied outside of politicians' offices. And together, we achieved what no one thought was possible. We defeated Trump Care and attempts to defund Planned Parenthood not once, not twice, but 3 times. We are not accepting what's happening now as the new normal. Women are speaking out against harassment with Me Too and Time's Up. And as usual, women of color are leading the way in important electoral wins in Virginia and Alabama. As we move into 2018, our collective power is going to continue to drive change in this country at the local and national level. This year, the resistance is moving from the airports to the streets, to the state houses, and to the ballot boxes. Together, we're fighting for a world where people of color, immigrants, LGBT communities all have full equality and control over their bodies. The administration will not stop trying to defeat us, and that's why our movement will only grow stronger. More women will speak out, more women will run for office, more powerful politicians will be held accountable. One of our strongest allies in this fight will be members of Congress, and it is my pleasure to introduce Congressman Keith Ellison, who's here to talk to us about that.
Hey, you guys, how you doing out there? How you feeling? I'm here to do one simple thing, and that is to thank you. Because a year ago, people were feeling down. They were feeling beleaguered. This maniac got elected, and they were like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? But you, the women of America, you said, you know what? We're gonna march. On January 21st, we're gonna inspire this country. We're gonna get people rising up, organizing, and getting out there and changing this situation. You did that, and here you are back 1 year later, and wouldn't you know it, this fool done shut down the government. What I want to say to you is this: your activism, your commitment, your organizing is leading the entire country. Absolutely, you are inspiring women and girls, but don't think that you're not inspiring all of us. You're inspiring the whole country, and behind your leadership, I will follow. Thank you very much, and I look forward to fighting at your side all the time. Peace.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Edwin Santana. I'm going to keep this very short. Hey, I'm a former Marine. I'm a Puerto Rican. And in 2016, I was inspired to run for Congress. But I can tell you one thing. My campaign truly didn't start until I attended the Women's March on January 21st, 2017. And I witnessed firsthand a progressive wave and the start of a new American political movement. A movement that swept across this country, and one that I witnessed firsthand in my home state of Virginia. So in my run for Congress, I promise to fight every single day for equal rights. I'm going to continue to fight for more minorities, women, and members of the LGBT community to get elected to office. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for inspiring me every single day, and let's keep the blue wave rolling.
Hey everyone, my name is Jamie Sawyers and I am so ready to join you out there in the march. My husband, Ryan Sawyers, is running for Congress. Thank you. And today I'm here to march with you for equality, for women, and all human rights. And my husband, Ryan, is ready to stand with you and be a yes vote for all of these important issues in Congress. We're so tired of the rhetoric being controlled by Trump lies, and we are ready to let them hear our truth. Thank you so much, Ryan Sawyers. Thank you.
Hi, I'm John Sodarth, and I'm also running for Congress in Virginia's 1st District. I'm going to be very brief. I'm going to tell you the 4 things we have to do to get equality, because waiting patiently and not so patiently for a quarter millennium is too long. So when you're told to shut up, speak up. When you're told to sit down, stand up. When you're told to be patient, be persistent, and vote, and always vote progressive, because the GOP will not stand with you, but the progressives will, and we do, and we will. Thank you very much. We're better off together than we all on our own. Thank you.
Sisters and brothers, all is possible, right? Let me hear it. All is possible. My name is Vanjie Williams, and I'm running for Congress in the 1st District of Virginia. Let me tell you this, all is possible because I am standing here in front of you telling you that we are going to take over Capitol Hill this year. Ladies and gentlemen, sisters and brothers, let me tell you what I want you to do. I want you to get your phones out and text FIRST to 69922 and support my campaign, because this sister is going to take us home and get us back together. Women, we are here and we ain't going nowhere. Thank you.
We are so close. We are almost done. I got 2 things, less than 30 seconds. My name is Eve Hurwitz. I'm a combat decorated veteran, a naval flight officer, a mother of 5, a business owner, and a nonprofit executive, and a community organizer. I am on the board of March On, which is a national organization created by amazing women that consist of some Women's March team members and a bunch of Sister March organizers from last year. And I want to tell you 2 things. 1, you are all badass. We are going to own this. We're going to take it back. And the next step is called Operation Marching Orders. OperationMarchingOrders.org. This is where we crowdsource the national agenda of everybody who has marched and everybody who supports them. It opens now. It's open for 2 weeks. It is a chance for us to put our needs and wants on paper and deliver it to our elected officials. And we are saying, these are our orders. Heed them or be voted out. OperationMarchingOrders.org. March on.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joanna Lohman, and I'm a professional soccer player for the Washington Spirit. I planned an entire speech today, but guess what? It is time that we move. It is time that we march, and we rise up. Let me hear you when I say rise, you say up. Rise, rise, rise. In the words of the oh-so-mighty Beyonce, who run the world? Who run the world? Who run the world? Damn right, people. Let's rise up. Let's march on Washington. Our footsteps and our voices will be heard. We cannot stand still. And we go. Thank you. Let's march.
Thank you, everyone. Now, who's ready to march? We're going to head down the reflection pool and we're going to turn on 17th and we are going to march to the White House and they are going to hear us. Let me hear you. I didn't hear you. Let me hear you. Show me what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like.